What a turn of events! Lando Norris lets Oscar Piastri by to win the Qatar sprint. Max Verstappen wins the Qatar Grand Prix. Welcome back, motorsport fans, to Track Talk. I'm your host, Margaret, bringing you the juiciest scoops, wildest moments, and sharpest insights from the world of Formula One. It's been a whirlwind weekend at the Lusail International Circuit for the Qatar Grand Prix, and we have a lot to unpack. Buckle up as we dive into the sprint review, race chaos, penalties galore, and even some spicy rumors for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Let's rev those engines. Let's go. Alright, starting off with Saturday's sprint. Oh boy, was that a drama-fueled dash or what? Oscar Piastri snatched a thrilling victory, and let's talk about how it went down. From pole, Lando Norris was the king of the start, storming into the lead like it was his playground. Behind him, Oscar Piastri and George Russell weren't just racing, they were staging a telenovela. Piastri made a cheeky overtake on Russell at turn 2, leaving the Mercedes driver fuming. Quote of the sprint, Russell yelling, "He just turned into me." Russell, my dude, it's called racing. Meanwhile, Lando was on fire. He controlled the pace like a seasoned master, clocking perfect laps until the end. In a stunning twist, Norris, yes, Norris, pulled over right before the finish line to give the win to his teammate. Now that's some McLaren bromance. Did they choreograph that like a Broadway show? Maybe, but you've got to respect the teamwork. Oscar was all smiles at the finish line, saying it was all defense play throughout the race, and honestly, given how George Russell and Carlos Sainz were breathing down his neck, I believe him. By the way, hats off to Carlos for holding his ground and Leclerc for delivering some epic wheel-to-wheel action with Hamilton. How many of you just loved that? That was, a teaser to the next season that we're heading to. Now, Ferrari may not have the constructors' lead, but they brought the spice. And let's not forget Max Verstappen, the 2024 champ, having a rare off day. Oversteer, understeer, slipping into P9 and only clawing back to P8. What's going on there, Max? Weekend vibes not matching the world champ aura. And as for Liam Lawson, who had a disastrous start from P10 to P17, I just have to ask, did someone forget to warm up the V-carb tires? But hey, he did manage to pass the Noda, so there's that. Small victories, folks. By the end of it all, McLaren walked away with a 1-2. Russell secured a hard-fought P3, and McLaren extended their constructors' lead over Ferrari to 30 points. Not bad for a Saturday spin, huh? So that was the sprint. A little drama, a lot of teamwork, and some fabulous racing. But folks, hold on to your headsets because we're just getting started. Coming up next, Max's one-place grid drop drama and the nail-biting quali session that has on the edge of our seats. Now let's talk quali, or as we're calling it, Max Verstappen, the almost flawless edition. Max obliterated everyone to take pole, but wait for it, a one-grid penalty for impeding George Russell. Shocker. George's radio rant? Priceless. This penalty dropped Max to P2, giving George Russell his moment of glory on pole. But let's be honest, did anyone really think Max wouldn't steamroll back to the front? Spoiler alert, he did. Out of the steward's room when they left after being handed the penalty, Max had told George, in turn 1, I'll get it back. And that's exactly what he did. Pulled away into the lead, with Russell losing out not only on his pole to Max, but an extra position to Lando Norris. Max might have won again, but this wasn't a snooze fest. Lando Norris kept him honest for the first 20 laps, which is more than most can say. Behind them, Ferrari decided to remind us they're still in F1, Charles Leclerc snagged a podium, while Carlos Sainz had a battle royale with George Russell. But the race's true talking point, the infamous MirrorGate. The mirror that changed everything at the Qatar Grand Prix. Yep, you heard me right, a mirror. Of all the things to stir up drama, Alex Albon's Williams decided it was time to go minimalist and lose a side mirror for, after 29 laps. And where did it land? Smack dab on the pit straight just before the pit lane exit on the track. For 6 laps, it lay there barely noticeable to the drivers, flying by at breakneck speed, until inevitably someone hit it. It was poor Valtteri Bottas he was the unlucky one, smashing into it while obeying blue flags for Charles Leclerc. And just like that, chaos ensued. This couldn't have happened at a worse time. Why? Because Lusail is a tire killer. By lap 29, almost everyone was skating on thin thread, trying to stretch their mediums as long as possible before switching to hards. The mirror debris forced yellow flags in the pit straight, neutralizing the track's best overtaking zone for crucial laps. But that wasn't the end of it. The punctures came next. First Lewis Hamilton, then Carlos Sainz, both falling victim to the debris damage. The race turned into a survival game, and through all this, Max Verstappen was out front, cool as ever, keeping Lando Norris just out of DRS range like the true champion he is. But wait, there's more. Lando got hit with a brutal 10-second stop and go penalty after misunderstanding with the yellow flags. Verstappen, being the ever alert racer he is, noticed Lando closing the gap and immediately flagged it to the race control. Lando, who'd unknowingly gained 0.6 seconds under yellow, paid the price, dropping from P2 to the back of the grid. Ouch. Norris clawed his way back to P10 and even snatched the fastest lap as a consolation prize. But you have to wonder, could he have truly challenged Max for the win? Probably not, but what a showdown it could have been. And speaking of drama, what about George Russell? After a stellar qualifying run, the Mercedes driver struggled with tyre degradation, with no other team that seems to, face as badly. He dropped positions, got stuck in traffic, and even endured a sticky pit stop where his right rear refused to budge. It was a day to forget for the Silver Arrows. Meanwhile, Ferrari's Charles Leclerc lucked out, during the safety car pit stops, jumping Oscar Piastri to secure P2. The result, a podium that flattered the Ferrari more than their pace deserved. Oh, and let's not overlook Pierre Gasly, who capitalized on the chaos that, to bring home a fantastic 5th for Alpine. Behind him, Sainz, Alonso, Zhou. He brings home the first points of the season for Sauber, and Magnussen rounded out the top 10. And yes, the final point claimed by none other than Lando Norris. What a race! Lewis Hamilton's penultimate race for Mercedes turned into an absolute nightmare. The 7-time world champion struggled with penalties, including a false start and pit lane speeding, and suffered a puncture that ruined his race. Frustrated, Hamilton at one point asked to retire, but soldiered on to finish 12th. Reflecting his tough season, Hamilton admitted earlier this weekend that he's not that fast anymore, and his struggles in qualifying and race pace continued to show this week as well. Now, coming down to notable performances, George Russell, the pole sitter, finished 4th after losing the lead early. Oscar Piastri, the McLaren, secured 3rd and remained optimistic about McLaren's championship hopes. Pierre Gasly, another strong showing for Alpine with a 5th place finish. Zhou Guanyu scored Sauber's first points of the season in 8th place. Sergio Perez, after what seemed like him sacrificing his sprint race to get the setup fixed for the Grand Prix, even though it seemed like he was in the mix, the car lost drive mid-race and he was out of the race. Now, his future at Red Bull seems to be vulnerable, and Christian Horner has said that it will have to be Perez that has to make the call post Abu Dhabi. Now, so a retirement, you think? December 8th will answer that question. Charles Leclerc is doing just what he had aimed to do, a P2 finish in the World Drivers Championship, and he has now closed the gap to Lando to just 8 points. So after being in the championship fight, Norris could see himself slipping down to P3 in the standings. With just one race remaining, the Constructors and the Drivers Championship battles are poised for thrilling conclusions in Abu Dhabi. McLaren must defend their slim 21-point lead over Ferrari, while the fight for the second in the drivers' standings between Norris and Leclerc will also be a highlight. Can McLaren seal the first Constructors' title since 1998, or will Ferrari snatch it away at the last moment? Stay tuned for what promises to be a spectacular season finale. Speaking of Abu Dhabi, the buzz is unreal. Rumor has it that Esteban Ocon won't race due to a mystery reason, paving way for Jack Doohan to make his debut. Can you believe it? The Aussie dream continues. Now, to sum all of this up, all thanks to a mirror. It's wild how something so small can set off a chain reaction of chaos in F1. Now, this race had everything: strategy, penalties, punctures, and of course the unstoppable Verstappen. So what's next? Next season is already shaping up to be a cracker. Is it going to be Alonso's final year, Hamilton chasing that elusive 8th title, and McLaren's resurgence? It's all happening. Plus the FIA heading into a new era of F1 racing with a penultimate season, that is the 75th year, to the grand 2026 season with 11 teams and new regulations. If that doesn't scream drama, I don't know what does. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Track Talk. From MirrorGate to rookie debuts, this season has been the gift that keeps on giving. Abu Dhabi is next, and I don't know about you, but I'll be on the edge of my seat. Until next time, keep your engines running and your spirits high. This is Margaret Rachel signing off from Track Talk.